during election season, you were doing a lot of promoting conservative efforts of Florida, and that really fascinated me. So what's going on? What are you doing?
So during the last round of elections, there was a referendum that was brought forward to replace one that had run out, and it was to bring back conservation funding in Polk. I think when the last one ran out, it was not long after we got the Florida Forever funding, which was supposed to be a lot of money for conservation throughout the state, and people thought, oh, we're covered.
Yeah.
Without understanding how Florida Forever funding works. You have to have local funds and cooperative projects to attract the state funds.
Oh.
And so we weren't getting a lot of the funding unless somebody somehow could work out a plan where they got money from private people or something else. So we needed to have that local funding available because we're really essential. We're a huge county, and we have the green swamp, the headwaters, the Everglades. We have the scrub on the ridge. So the Peace River.
Yeah.
So we have a lot that runs through Polk County they're big connectors and also some really unique landscapes in Florida. So we worked on that. I was actually called in. They were trying really hard to make sure that it was a bipartisan committee that was representing this, because conservation isn't really partisan. It's become politicized, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
It's to everyone's benefit, and everyone likes going out to the woods or going out to the beach or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It affects everyone. We all need good quality water. We all need breathing space.
Yeah.
So we were trying to make sure that we were reaching out to everyone so that they all had a chance. It didn't feel like it was a one-party issue or anything. So I was brought onto it was a PAC. It was a true political action committee.
Okay.
Like, we wouldn't say that. We were like, we're a political committee.
Okay, yeah.
Because you say PAC and everybody's like,
Yeah.
you're bad.
Yeah.
But it was a PAC that had almost no funding.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it had a very active board. It was awesome because I got to meet a lot of people that I normally wouldn't have met, either because they were on the other side of the line or Polk County's just big.
Yeah.
And I hear about people, but we never met in person, and brought a lot of really cool people together. And
That's great.
we got it passed almost 60%.
So this to me, I want to believe, and I want to get goosebumps over this, like bipartisan cooperation.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think everybody just got on board with that?
It mattered enough. That's all there was to it. And it wasn't anything like, we had people that were hunters and airboaters, and then we had people that were like counting the butterflies, But the fact was, like, without us both cooperating, it was not going to make it. And so we had to just put our differences aside and try to sort of find more of the middle in the narrative.
Okay.
And
People did.
they didn't like love each other the whole time, but we worked together and we got it done. And they sort of, they might have created a monster because now we'll all call each other. We don't care. We've developed a trust.
Oh,
We know how each other works.
Yeah.
So now there's this kind of Polk County network of people that didn't know each other before that know how to work together very effectively, which is pretty cool.
So that was the referendum.
That was a referendum.
Getting passed. And so what does that establish?
So about $7 million in funding per year for the next 20 years. And then you add matching funds on top of that, which the last round of the referendum, matching funds were about 70%. And so $7 million and then add 70% on top of that, you've got some money.
That's yeah.
So you can really get something done. So starting the next year, it'll be funded for the first year with about $7 million, and then whatever you get in matching funds.
Okay. And so where do the funds go to? Are you trying to buy land so you can
Yes,
serve
so
it?
they can either buy the land outright, or they can put a conservation easement on it, so they can use it for maybe some sort of agricultural use, like cattle or timber, depending on what they need the property for.
Okay.
It could be to help with like water quality. It could be because it's just a crucial part of the wildlife corridor for animals to pass through.
Mm-hmm.
And you just can't cut that part, but maybe it could even be citrus for all I know. But maybe it's just a key linkage to the corridor, and they're like, it doesn't even matter if it's citrus, it just needs to be somewhere that the animals can get through. So I was in Tallahassee, I guess that was earlier this month, I can't keep track, I'm everywhere, with Conservation Florida, which is a land trust that I work with quite a bit as basically their volunteer painter. And they invited me to come up there for a legislative reception in the old Capitol building.
So that means the legislators, you were hanging out with them?
I was, sort of. They don't know who I am, but they do check out my artwork, which is nice.
Yeah.
And they also showed the first episode of a series that they've just finished too. That's with the Discover Florida channel, and I think it's called Protect Our Paradise.
Yeah.
And I'm in that too.
How do we watch that?
I think they have an app, or it's going to be on 3 or 4 different stations as
Is that
well.
part of the Discovery Channel?
I don't think it is. I think it's more like broadcasting type
Florida
stations in
Cool.
Florida, but it does. But they did like Flip My Florida Yard and like all
they
those
did?
shows, yeah. So they were around doing other things, but this one they did specifically on the conservation issue.
Okay. Because that's a big thing. I follow the manatees quite a bit and how they're doing, and I think the
Yeah.
yards are a big problem. You know, I mean, I grew up I'm part of the problem. I grew up with like a green grass yard, and but I think that's one of
It's
the
not just the yards, it's just the like sheer volume of people, and then like all of their wastewater, like nutrient contamination from the yards, as well as like sewer and septic, and just not having it dealt with properly. And you need like land mass to filter all of that, and it's not going over land mass before it hits like say like Kissimmee or parts of the Everglades or things like that. A lot of it is actually coming down from the Orlando area through the northern Everglades headwaters. And so all that development we're talking about in like Kissimmee, Point Siena, and Orlando, that is infecting the nutrient load and all the toxins more than we think. I think that there's a tendency to like blame big ag or whatever, but I don't know if big ag's actually grown. What we have seen growing is a lot more people, and they have a pretty heavy impact, and we don't want to admit that it's us.
right.
But I've seen the problem and it's us,
Yeah.
and that's where you're seeing the red tides coming in.
Right.
And problems, they have problems endlessly on Lake Okeechobee and with the Everglades, because they're trying to control the water to keep like the rivers from flushing at the wrong time and levels right, and it's just like, it's not under control basically.
No, but I think it's so important, like obviously what you're doing, because like getting the word out about those things, the overpopulation, was one way to call it.
It really,
The development that's happening.
not really an overstatement by any means.
Yeah. But it is important to advocate about that and about smart growth, I think, for sure.